Hello and welcome to another episode of DKW, a show where we deal with the most pressing issues affecting women today. And today we are talking, sorry, I just don't care anymore. Wondering what that's about? It's all about breakups. And before we delve into that, let's see what's coming up next. Once again, good afternoon everyone. Welcome back to another DKW show. And I'm sure that today is going to be fabulous. We are talking breakups. Sorry, I just don't care anymore. Now, hopefully, none of you at home have heard those words. I have, to be honest with you, and I'm not here alone because I'm sure the ladies who are with me today have heard these words as well. Unfortunately, I'm here with Maria. Hi, Maria.
Hi, Gemma.
I'm here with Verena. Hi. Good to see you. And Melissa, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Now, ladies, I want to ask you just quickly, have you heard those words before? Sorry, I just don't care anymore.
Nah.
All right, well, the show is over. That has been fantastic.
Well, personally, I wish I did, because mine wasn't like that. I got cheated on.
Yeah.
So it wasn't those words, but, you know, if you told me, sorry, I just don't care anymore, that might have been better.
Right, I'm sure. Maria, what about you?
Same as Melissa, but not... I haven't heard those words.
Haven't heard those words. Well, we're going to be discussing that a little bit more. But first, let's go to the streets of London and see what people had to say about their worst breakups. Back soon.
Can you tell me about the worst way that you've been dumped or someone's dumped you?
This was actually on, it was my first long-term boyfriend, and it was on his birthday night out. The dress theme was Pokemon, and we had a long, serious breakup conversation outside sort of our student union while I was dressed as Squirtle and he was dressed as Ash, which then meant, and unfortunately we lived together as well. So after we'd broken up, I then had to go home with him, awkwardly go to our rooms, and then spend another hour washing blue paint off myself.
Fun.
Which stained the shower curtain for ages and lost us some of our deposits. So,
I once had the unfortunate incident of accidentally receiving a dirty text meant for somebody else about how my boyfriend was going to dump his annoying girlfriend. So it was like, okay, they could get it on Friday night.
I took someone out for about a month, going well. Had a fourth or fifth date. Thought everything's fine. Sent me a text and she goes, really like hanging out with you as a friend, and I like the fact we've just been hanging out as friends. So I'm not sure if I was dumped because she sent a text that more or less negated our entire period going out. So I was just oh, so we were just friends in the first place. So is this a dumping? I'm not sure. Yeah. It's the fact there was a complete revised history. I was a bit oh, well, I was just friends then. Brilliant. Shouldn't have spent all this money.
It would have to be by text.
What do you think makes a relationship last?
For me, it's trust and communication.
Trust, mainly, and be honest with each other, yeah.
Allow the other person to do their own thing.
You guys are always going to get bored if you stay in every weekend. You've got to get out and do things.
Honesty is the best policy.
Do you think that chemistry can last in a relationship?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think chemistry is very important because it keeps the fire going in a relationship.
Chemistry is probably the perfect word because I think these things change over time. So like actual chemistry, it kind of moves from one thing to the other, or it's a series of reactions really. So yeah, there's the kind of first date kind of bubbliness, but is that the same after a month? No, it's not, but it changes.
It's really interesting because when I look at my parents have been married for 60 years and the chemistry lasts. But I think the chemistry 60 years ago is totally different from the chemistry of this world. And I actually think it's the atmosphere more than anything else. But on a serious note, I think if there's love and there's genuine love, the chemistry can last. But for one reason or the other, relationships don't last any longer. And it may well not be the chemistry. It might well, I think it's more to do with the fact that what were the reasons why they fell in love, if they fell in love in the first place. Some of it is lost, I'm looking at you and I find you very attractive, but the chemistry is right. But do we have to take it any further? That's another thing. It's a different thing entirely.
So some very differing views there. I think I like the one about the atmosphere. What do you guys think? The atmosphere.
I didn't actually know what he meant.
He said that after being married for 60 years, I think it was, the atmosphere is what helped them. I think that's actually hilarious because I was saying, nothing to do with the sacrifice, hard work of the parents, compromise. No, the atmosphere. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, as I say, I had no idea what he was talking about. I mean, when he started talking about the chemistry, I agreed with him, but then when he said the atmosphere, it was
You're
like,
thinking, you what?
Right.
Well, ladies, what I want to know, what is the worst way to break up with somebody? And I'm sure people at home have been broken up with. I've definitely had a broken heart. And like I said on last week's show, I'm so tired of talking about my breakup stories, so I want to hear from you guys. But before, actually, I might say my breakup stories. Before I hear from you guys, we're going to play a little game because on DKW we love games. So I'm going to show you a few cards here. You can look at them and I want you to choose what you think the worst way to break up with someone is. So we've got a few options here, unfortunately. Now I've got a lot of options, so if I drop my cards, please forgive me, everyone at home. So number one, in bed.
Well, you could be in bed doing anything, that's the thing.
You could be. In bed? What do you guys think about that? Worst way? No?
No, I don't think it's the worst way. I mean, if you're living with somebody, you know, you might just wake up and be like, now's the time, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, now's the time for it to be over. Through a friend. So a friend tells you, so think about it, your friend tells you, oh, hold on a minute, your boyfriend doesn't want you anymore. What do you think about that?
That's a coward.
That is ridiculous. That's a pretty bad way.
Yeah, that is really.
Is that the worst way though?
No, it's not the worst way. It's a coward way of doing it, but understandable.
Okay, right. So how about this one? Family. What do you guys think about this?
In front of family.
Family.
Through family.
Yeah, so like in front of the family, through family, like, you know, because maybe you've got a massive family, you're very close to your family, they think, actually, your mother might be the best person to tell you that I don't want you anymore.
Another coward. For me, it's another coward.
For me, I think the relationship should end if your family, like, you know, if someone, like for example, if my mother had to tell me, do you know what, your boyfriend told me that he doesn't want to be with you anymore, I'd say, do you know what, it's good that we've broken up because he doesn't trust me enough to actually tell me himself.
Well, he's not
men enough.
We don't have that intimacy.
Yeah. Not men enough.
All right, how about this one? At the altar. Now,
you know, that sounds scandalous, but that has happened. You know, we know
you?
To me. No, never. I got to the altar and stayed there, mate. No, but
Scared for a minute.
because you know, it's kind of a common thing. You know, you see it in films and stuff like that, and that, there's a reason for that. Do you know what I mean? There's a reason for it being so common because it sounds like it's probably the worst way because you've made all that preparation and you've gotten there. You were almost there, but in a way, you could have been. You know. Somebody could have been, the other one could have been doubtful. No, they could have been doubtful the whole time and just really wanted to. And then in that moment of, gosh, this is like the complete and utter ultimate commitment.
Yeah.
I just can't do it.
Yeah.
So I don't actually think it's the worst way.
You know, the altar is probably one of the worst ways because I just think about a wedding. Like when you're planning a wedding, which I'm planning my wedding at the moment. When you're planning a wedding,
so you got engaged then, Gemma?
I did get engaged, and I would not be impressed if my partner left me at the altar because I thought, you know, wouldn't you want to tell me before all my friends and families and the friends that I've reunited with have come, and before I've spent all those thousands, didn't you want to tell me before?
You know, it's terrible.
This is what leads people to doing acts of terrible things. I'm sorry.
It is terrible. However, you know, it's tough because there's a reason why you got that far. Do you know what I mean? Because that person might have had their doubts, but just thought, oh no, it's just doubts. Like, you know, I don't think that at the altar would be a place where they would just say, sorry, I just don't care. I think really and truly, if you to make it that far, that person really did have those strong feelings for you, but then it was just
so what happened to them?
I can't make that lifetime commitment.
Melissa,
what happened?
No, I'm sorry, it's the worst way for me.
When you've been dropped at the altar, it means that he has not turned up.
Yeah, he stood you up.
He stood you up.
He's humiliated you.
Yeah, because he couldn't face it anymore. He didn't want to do it. He couldn't face coming.
Melissa, would you rekindle a relationship with somebody that left you at the altar? If he said, Melissa, I couldn't face all those people, this is not what I wanted, but I love you.
N to the O. No.
Look at the one who's fine.
I'm just saying, I don't think it's the worst way. It is a pretty bad way.
Yeah.
But in terms of the actual way, I don't think it's the worst way.
Okay.
But I think so far the three of them has been in a very coward way of doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, so far for me, they're
all cowardly. Terribly.
Yeah.
So how about this one? Pick up the voicemail. Please leave a message after the tone, and then you've got, so Maria, don't fancy you anymore.
Oh dear.
On your voicemail.
I don't think I would like that.
Thank God you don't have to pay for voicemails anymore. Do you remember when you used to pay for voicemails?
I know, you're paying for it just to get.
I think especially if someone is on their own as well. I think that would
well,
be.
Well, it all depends to the partner, because sometimes they may want to do it that way because they want to avoid getting into an argument.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay, so how about just being, now I know someone that's been through this, how about being mean? Being mean to you so much so that sometimes you even feel like, do you know what, I need to break up with that person. What do you reckon?
That is horrible.
Well, it's a very common way.
It's a very common way again.
Common way.
And I think it's down to the fact that they don't know how to go about it, and they might not necessarily want to do it just yet. They just know their feelings have changed, and that's the way it's coming across. So they're just being mean because that's basically what they know how to do. Yeah, if that makes sense. So
I don't think it's a very nice way, though.
It's not nice. No.
It's not.
We're running out of time, but I want to talk about this one: social media. So you see a Facebook status, we're over. What do you guys think about that one? Twitter, Facebook, you name it. On social media for you and the whole world to see.
No, I think that's out of order.
That
if
would
it's a Facebook message,
be very nice.
Facebook message, you know, I'm not saying that's tolerable, but it's better.
Yeah.
Status, no way.
Status, no. All right, how about this one? This is probably the last one we can show. Cheating. Someone cheating on you.
It's an awful way to do it.
It's an awful way.
There is a show actually called Cheaters.
Right.
Where the cameras go out and catch people cheating on their partners.
Yeah.
It is the most dreadful way of breaking up with somebody. Cheating.
Yeah, I do agree, because I've been cheated on before myself.
Me too.
Me too.
And you just think, oh, you know, if you didn't want the relationship, you should have just ended it.
Yeah.
Yes.
With me, right? Because the way you feel afterwards, and you feel so insecure, and so it's just like, oh my gosh, that relationship's over. I would prefer someone to tell me,
or use one of the other methods.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to know, guys, what do you think is the worst one? Because we're coming to a break soon. What would you say is the worst one?
Cheating.
Cheating.
Well, we haven't crossed this one, but I think like a post-it note. I think that's ridiculous.
A post-it note.
A post-it note.
Wow, I've never heard
Leaving
of that
a
one.
note to say, I just don't care about you anymore. I think that is the worst. That's just the most disrespectful way, in my opinion.
For me, it has to definitely be at the altar, because I just feel like, you know, at the altar, I just feel like, oh my goodness, it's the worst thing. What about you, Verena?
For me, I think cheating. It's the worst.
Cheating.
Yeah.
So cheating. Well, when we come back after this break, we're going to be talking to Laura Yates, who's a writer. She's written many columns on breaking up and given some breakup advice to some people. And we're going to ask her, what do you think the worst way to break up with someone is? We'll be back after this short break.
Hi, the Chrissy B Show airs live on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, coming to your homes with entertainment, life issues as well as hard-hitting topics, coupled with friendly and practical advice. I love to look at the happier side of life and believe a person can achieve amazing things when they put their mind to it. The Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life.
Forgiving the person who betrayed you can be tough, and it can almost always leave a scar. A scar that remains from an abusive past can affect your future in so many ways. There are various forms of abuse, the seen and the unseen. We understand your pain because we have been through it ourselves. If you or someone you know is a victim of any form of abuse, help is available. Rehab, removing all hurt and abuse. We won't pretend it never happened, but our aim is to help you heal the wounds of the past so that you can build a happy future. We'll listen, we'll advise, we'll be your shoulder to cry on. It's free, confidential, and we're just a phone call away. For more information, call 0207 686 6000 or visit our website uckg.org/rehab.
Welcome back to the show, and today we are talking sorry, I just don't care anymore. Now what does that mean? We are talking breakups. Now we did have a bit of a laugh in the first segment, but to be honest with you, breaking up with someone is never easy, and when you're broken up with, it's really, really painful. At the moment we've got Laura Yates with us, and she's a writer, a mentor and a coach. Laura, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, it's great to be here.
I wanted to ask you, Laura, first of all, before I get into the questions that I've got for you, I've got so many on breakups. What made you want to get into becoming a relationship expert or a breakup expert? Why breakups?
I think it was mainly through personal experience. I've gone through a couple of really difficult breakups, and I know that there is a process that has to be you have to go through a particular process in order to get over that. And there are things that you can do to make that process a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And so I was just really keen to be able to help other people in that way as well, because it's something that affects everybody.
Yeah.
Yet people don't often talk about how hard it is for them. You know, so I really wanted to be able to help people through that.
So you'd been through it before, and then you thought, you know what, let me use my experiences to help others. You know, people don't realise, but I always think of breakups as almost like a death.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, when that person's gone, you know, friends ask you, oh, what happened? And then you've got to sort of do the whole, oh, we split up because of this. And then, you know, family members like that person, and then you've got to reintroduce them to someone else. It's really, really difficult.
It is hard. It's almost like grieving.
Yeah. It really is.
Yes.
Now, Laura, in segment one, we had a lot of laughs, and before we get to the serious stuff, I want to ask you, what do you think the worst way is to break up with someone? Maybe from your experience, from a client.
I mean, I think just, you know, the whole social media thing is awful as well. You know, breaking up with someone, you know, on Twitter or on Facebook, or I think it's just when the person doesn't really acknowledge the relationship. So even if it's a text message, you know, that's just, it doesn't really give any value to what the relationship was.
Yeah. So I agree with that, because, you know, if someone breaks up with you on social media, it's almost like they're there to humiliate you.
Absolutely.
And that's why I was a little bit uncomfortable with the whole altar thing as well, breaking up with someone at the altar, because it's the humiliation. You know, if we're in an intimate relationship, I wouldn't expect you to humiliate me in front of friends and family.
And it reminds me of the Sex and the City episode where she gets broken up with on a post-it note as well.
Melissa mentions that is terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Really bad.
I know, Verena, you've got a lot to say on this.
Yes.
Have you?
Yes. How do you know when a relationship is over?
I think when you're in a great relationship, you've got to, or when you're trying to establish whether the relationship is over, it's whether it's bringing out the best in you. So are you being your best self in that relationship? You know, a relationship is where two people should flourish as individuals. And if you are feeling more anxiety and stress and worry and upset more than you are feeling all those good things, then I think that's definitely an indication that, you know, the relationship is probably not the best one for you to be in. And also I think, you know, if there is a specific issue that keeps coming up time and time again, that just doesn't ever seem to change, even if you've both addressed it and decided that it is something that needs to change, yet nothing's happening, then, you know, that's an indication as well that the relationship probably isn't going to go anywhere. And I think you've also got to be really honest with yourself sometimes and think, okay, do I really love this person? Do I really love being in this relationship? Or am I just staying in it because it's the easiest thing to do and it's safer than breaking away and being on your own? Because taking that step can be really, really daunting. And you find a lot of people stay in, especially long-term relationships, just because it's safer.
You know, I've had that experience, and I've spoken about it before on the show, because again, when you have to break up with someone, you think about all the years, all the investment that you've put into
the memories.
it, all the memories, and then there's the embarrassment as well, you know, because sometimes you know that you're not in the right relationship, but then you've got to tell everybody, and you know, then you become single again, and it's frightening to go out there and find someone else.
Really daunting.
It can be. Maria, what do you reckon on this?
Well, yeah, it's very painful. But so, I mean, for me, what I really wanted to ask was how long does it really take to get over a painful breakup like that?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't think that you can put a minimum time or maximum time on it. It really depends on the relationship. It also depends on what else is going on in your life as well. But I definitely think that you can speed up the healing process by sort of embracing the new opportunities that being single presents you with. So making a conscious effort to look forward and, you know, think about making your life the best it can possibly be, as opposed to just dwelling on those past memories and wallowing in it. And, you know, it's just very important to keep looking forward. You can still feel all of that stuff and feel all of those awful feelings, but if you're looking forward, then that's a far more healthier way to deal with it.
That's funny, because most people do sort of go under the duvet, think their life is over, and think, I'll never find anyone, and that doesn't help, you know, all that negativity, right? Would you say there are stages to breakups and getting over the breakup? Would you say there's like stages of recovery?
I think so, definitely. I mean, the one you just mentioned, that's the first one. So you've got to give yourself that time to just go hide under the duvet and wallow and cry, and just to get your head around what has actually happened as well. But I think it's important to not do that for too long. So the next stage then is reaching out to someone. So someone who you trust. So, you know, a friend or a family member or your mum or your sister, someone who you really trust that you can be yourself around. You don't have to put on a brave face for, but someone who's really going to shed that positive light on it, and who's going to lift you up, and who's going to, you know, help you see what else is out there. And, you know, and spending time around friends as well, people who are going to make you laugh, people who can show you a good time, people who are going to help you fill your diary up with things to do. I think another really important stage is cutting off contact with the ex as well, which is really hard. It's a really hard thing to do, but you know, even if it's temporarily deleting their number off your phone, entrusting their number with someone else for a period of time, because practically sometimes that's not always possible to cut off contact long term. Doing that so you won't be tempted to text them after a few glasses of wine. You know how it is, right?
Do you think you could be friends with an ex? Do you think you could be?
I mean, I think definitely quite a long duration of time has got to pass before that can happen. I do think it is possible, but I think when it's still so raw and you've got all of those feelings tied up, then it's, you know, you've got to give it time to breathe, I think, and for you both to have moved on before you can be in that place where you're ready to be friends again. Because sometimes the emotions are so confusing as well. And that's why I asked that, because I know I have a friend who actually is friends with their ex, and I do worry, and I think, gosh, don't you have those feelings like, oh, because you know when you break up with someone, you think, you just remember all the good things, you know, all the good times you had, but you don't remember the bad things a lot of the time. And then you get caught up in all of those emotions, and then you're sort of drawn back to that person. Absolutely, and it can be very easy, I think, to use the friendship as an excuse to keep going back and having that interaction with the person. So it really depends on how intense the relationship was, and you know, the type of relationship it was as well.
Do you think it's for women it's much more difficult for us to handle breakups than men? We have a tougher time with it.
I mean, I don't know, I think men have a really great ability to just push their feelings way down, and so on the surface it looks like they are just getting back out there and living their lives normally again, whereas as women we tend to sort of go into ourselves a lot more, we tend to feel stuff a lot more. So I think that's why it perhaps looks like that we deal with it worse, when I think men go through the same things as well, they just show it very differently.
I think social media is really terrible for that as well, because you're checking all of his updates, and it's like, what, he went out last night? Who was it? And
you've got to delete them. You've got to delete them from social media, definitely, because you know that's the thing. You can see them with someone, and it might be completely innocent, and you're like, well, who's that girl? You know,
maybe he was cheating on me this time.
Absolutely. So it just saves all of that if you can really bite the bullet and delete them off social media as well. There's no reason why they need to be on your Facebook.
Gosh, it's really tough. Isn't it?
It is tough though. It's really hard. Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
How do you know when you're actually ready to move on, and maybe even start, you know, going to another relationship? How do you know?
Definitely. I think when you're in that place where you are not looking for someone to fill a gap in your life, you're not looking for someone to fill your ex's shoes, I think that's a really good place to begin dating again, when you're seeing it as an opportunity to just branch out and meet new people. I think often a great place to be for dating is when you almost feel like your life is too busy to be dating.
That's so true.
Because you've got so much going on, and you're going to have a really great energy about you, and so the people that you meet are going to be, you know, very much aligned to the life that you're leading at that time, you know. And just approaching it when you feel that you can approach it with an open mind and an open heart.
Okay. I want to talk about failure, because, you know, for example, we were talking about, you know, girlfriend, boyfriend. Now we say partner. Yeah. But, you know, there is a difference between you splitting with your partner and you splitting with, say, a husband, or maybe you've got children with that person.
Yes.
You know, and then you feel like you struggle with these feelings of, I'm a failure. You know, how do you get over all of that? Because it sounds so easy. Go out, embrace your life again. But what if you've got children? You know, what if that was your husband and you're dealing with a divorce? How do you deal with someone that, you know, like for example, my sister, you know, she went through a period where she was married, and her husband one day said, sorry, I just don't care anymore. And he walked out on her and she begged him to stay. And she said there was a point in her life where she was actually on the floor. She had her hands around his knees saying, please stay.
Yeah.
Dealing with that sort of feeling of failure, how do you cope with that? How do you deal with that?
It is really difficult. But I think ultimately, you know, if it's taking that much work, if the relationship is taking that much work, relationships shouldn't, you know, they all have ups and downs and they take work to a certain extent, but if they're taking that much work, then it's probably not the best relationship for you to be in, regardless of if that's your husband or if there are children involved. And, you know, even then as well, it's much better, it's a much healthier place to be on your own than in a relationship that just isn't serving either of you, or even one of you, because then it just isn't right, you know.
Do you think there's any relationships that you will never get over?
I mean, I think there might be those ones, especially where it is marriage as well, where you will always have that. I mean, I know there's someone for me and I would just know that I'll always have that. It'll be there. Yeah. But, you know, once you work through that, you are able to move forward from it and you can start to see yourself with someone else. But I think it will always be there, and they'll always have that mark on your heart, you know. But it's just them being able to move forward from that and not dwelling on the past, and just being able to look forward to the future and embrace that.
Now, Laura, you've given us some great advice, but we're about to go to break, and I wanted to, with all the women that you've written to in magazines and so on, what sort of piece of advice, lasting piece of advice, would you give to a DKW lady right now who is maybe struggling with the breakup and thinks, my life is over? It's easy for her to say this, but you know, I can't get over it. What last piece of advice would you leave with them?
I think the best piece of advice is that, you know, any relationship that hasn't worked out is a step closer to the right one.
That's great. I love that. That's brilliant. That's wonderful. Laura, thank you so much. The time has just flown by.
It has, hasn't it? It's been so quick. Thank you for having me. It's been really nice to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to go to a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to have fashion designer Geeta Handa, and she's going to be designing a lovely little number for our presenter Melissa. Because you know, when you've gone through a breakup, it's really, really difficult, and I know this firsthand, to sort of get out there, like Laura said, and to reinvent yourself, and maybe getting a new wardrobe is a way to do it. We'll see you after this break. Click on to uckg.org for all the latest happenings at the UCKG Help Centre. It's dynamic, interesting and full of content that will add to your daily life. Keep up to date with all the latest info on events up and down the country at a UCKG closest to you. There's something for everyone and you're invited. Check out what we've done previously and update your calendar with what's coming up next. Ladies, especially for you, presenters and authors Nanda Becerra, Esther Becerra, Chris Cardoso and Viviane Freitas share with you advice on becoming a better woman. Read their top tips on health, beauty, love and well-being, all aimed at helping you become the woman you were created to be. And if you're looking for food for the soul and personal development, then check out messages from world-renowned spiritual leader Bishop Macedo, as well as character-building blogs from Bishops Renato and Celso Jr. It's spiritual intelligence for your life. And for all you young guys and girls, why not check out our section dedicated to youth? Real talk, real advice, and a whole lot of fun. Catch cool clips of their shows and listen to the catchiest VYG record track. Want some inspiration? Watch our live transformational videos, recent programs, plus all the promos and coverage of some of our best shows and events.
Family with my is finding answers, and we are here.
Finding us is easy. Wherever you are in the UK, find the UCKG nearest to you at a click of a button. uckg.org. All you need at your fingertips. Welcome back to the show. We've been talking getting over breakups. Now, one way that you can get over a breakup is by reinventing yourself. And what better way than getting some new clothes? I'm here with fashion designer Geeta Handa. Hello, how are you? Welcome to the show. So you're going to be talking us through some designs. But before you talk us through these designs and what you're going to concoct for Melissa, I should say, who's very lucky over there.
Yes,
She's going to get a lovely dress from you, Geeta.
Very excited.
You've been doing something universally, auctioning some clothes or something? You've just come back from an event? What have you been doing? Tell us about it.
I was actually auctioning a dress of mine, which is called Lady Tallulah.
Okay.
So that was a 1970s style piece that I'd kind of created.
Yeah.
So it actually went off for an auction, which was for in aid of an organisation in India called the Red Brigade.
Okay.
So it's actually an amazing organisation. It's pretty kick-ass. Like they're basically being taught the art of self-defense.
Okay.
So what they do is, I don't know if you've heard sort of recently in the news, there's been a lot about women out there being sexually abused, and
I know that the campaigns have caused a lot of sort of
That's right. That's right. So what's happened now is there's a lot of women out there that obviously are, you know, sort of wanting to do something about this.
Good.
So this organisation was set up, and it was actually in aid of raising awareness for that.
Oh, fantastic!
So yeah, I managed to auction the dress, and so the proceeds are going to go for that.
Brilliant.
And,
so you're one of these designers that's not just saying, you know, sorry, I just don't care. What you're saying is, I really do care, and I want what I do to actually help people. That's amazing. That's really really good. So Geeta, take us through it. Actually, I should hand over to you, Melissa, because this dress is for you.
It is.
All these designs are looking amazing.
Well, I love vintage, so I would love for you to design a dress for me. But actually wanted to know, first of all, how did you get into fashion design?
Okay, it probably goes back to my childhood actually, because I was born in Liverpool, and I lived in a road called Penny Lane, which was kind of quite popular. It was a popular song by the Beatles.
Okay.
So back then,
before our time.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
It was actually.
I'm joking.
I just remember kind of, you know, this whole sort of rock and roll vibe, and I think somehow or the other, I kind of absorbed all of that. So when I was a little kid, I was just really creative, you know, just always kind of locking myself away in the room, drawing, sketching, you know, sort of dancing in front of the mirror, just very, very creative. And then it was actually when I was at uni, there was a magazine, it was like a cult lifestyle music mag.
Okay.
So I pitched the idea to them back then that, you know, hey, why don't you guys do fashion pages? So what they did was they were like, oh, we don't really have anybody. So I said, all right, I'll come on board and I'll, you know, I don't mind doing this. So I just got a feel for it.
You make it sound so easy, but come on, there must be like a whole process to fashion design. What is the process in, you know, getting that idea out of your head onto paper and onto someone's body? What is the process?
It's you just have to be inspired by something. So, you know, there is a process to it, and the first thing is you obviously have to have a sketch.
Okay.
So the sketch is like your foundation, and this kind of outlays everything. So once you have that, you kind of know the silhouette of the dress, you know the cuts, you know the silhouette, it basically dictates the shape. So once you have that, then you know you sort of sit there, you draw it out, and then the next process is to get the fabric.
Okay.
Or it can work the other way around as well. You can be out shopping, you know, fabric shopping, see a nice fabric, and then go, oh, actually,
really
you know
like
what, that's going to be amazing, and then, you know, sort of take that and then sketch it out.
Wow, so you literally do everything from scratch then, because I know that when it comes to dressmaking and things, I think one of the hardest things is pattern design and pattern cutting.
Yeah.
I mean, so you do all of that as well?
I actually personally don't cut the fabric.
Okay.
So I have a workshop. So in that workshop, I've obviously got tailors that I then kind of delegate everything to, and then they take care of that. But the main thing is to to sit with them sometimes. Sorry, I'm going to cough.
Yeah. You know, it's amazing. While Geeta coughs, I'm just thinking, sometimes you take it so much for granted. You know, you see, like you go to a high street store and you see like loads of stuff, and then you see something a designer does, and you think, oh, it's so expensive, this is extortionate. But really, it's a lot that goes into it, and a lot of work that goes into all of this.
There is. I mean, sometimes, you know, you have days where you're just like, oh, how am I going to fit all of this in? But, you know, it's I think if you're just passionate about it and you just really enjoy it, you know, and I do.
Yeah. I just want to quickly ask you, actually, because your style is very vintage, retro. What inspired you to basically make clothes of this style? What inspired you to do this, to do vintage, retro?
I just think I've always had a taste for like things that are quite timeless and classic. So that was really it, you know, just, you know, like with vintage, I mean, vintage could be sort of back from the 1940s, the 50s. You could still wear it in this day and age, and it's just never going to die out.
Very true.
So that's really what the inspiration was.
Okay, now Geeta, so you can cut the suspense. Please tell us what you've got for Melissa over here, because I know she's very, very excited about it, been boasting to all of us that she's got a dress being made for her.
Yeah, and I would like to know, actually, how did you come up with a design specifically for me?
Okay, well, first thing is that you sent me your measurements.
Yes.
So what I generally do, if I'm going to make an outfit for somebody, first thing is to get your measurements. So what we do is we basically use one of these.
Oh, you're not going to take her measurements.
I know,
I'm not going to take them now.
Thank God.
What's her waist size?
No, don't worry. So that's what we do, and there's basic measurements that you need to take when you're making a dress, which is your bust size, your waist size, your hip size, shoulders. Again, all depending on the actual silhouette of the dress.
Okay.
You know, you've got to sort of take certain measurements. Sometimes it could even be the neck measurement as well, to how deep you want the neck. So, Can I
just ask about taking measurements really quickly? Because, you know, when I take a measurement, I don't know if I can just take this, not that I'm a pro or anything. Do you do it like really tight, or do you do it quite loosely?
Do you know what? You should actually leave at least 1 inch.
Oh, okay.
So if you do it too tightly, what could happen is once it's actually stitched up, that's it. You can't go back on it, and if it's too tight, then you can't alter it in any way. But if you leave an extra inch, then there's always that scope to kind of get alter and make it tighter.
Okay, that's really good to know. Okay.
I know a little bit about this because my husband's a tailor, so...
Wow, okay. We shall talk business later.
So yeah, I'm really, really excited. So let's see, what kind of colours and materials are we thinking of using for the dress?
Well, I was thinking for you, because the other thing that sometimes people don't think of is your complexion and the colour as well. So I take that into consideration. I'll normally ask my client, you know, what kind of complexion are you?
Okay.
So I think what would look really lovely on you, because you're a beautiful tan colour, is...
She's getting all the compliments today, isn't she?
I think the contrast of the daisy print.
Lovely.
The daisy print and the black.
Yeah.
So we can have... I've actually sketched it out here, a little bit of a sketch.
Oh, fantastic. Should we show the camera the sketch quickly?
Oh, there you go. It's not a finished one, we just kind of started it.
That's looking lovely already, really fitted.
I'm really excited.
So why did you make it sort of fitted around the waist? Is it because you sort of got her measurements and you wanted to take that into consideration?
Yeah, that's right. I think Melissa is actually quite proportionate.
Yeah.
So, you know, she's still got a smaller waist, like her hips and her bust are actually in balance.
So what is she, like some sort of hourglass?
You are an hourglass shape.
Oh my goodness, that's wonderful.
Back in the day, like that was the Marilyn Monroe shape. So, yeah.
Okay, so you're going to put the black at the bottom, then the daisy print at the top.
That's right.
Okay.
So this is this kind of shape is called a pencil cut. So I think that's going to look beautiful on you.
Yeah,
it's actually a dress, but it's a pencil cut shaped dress. And what's always better actually for a slightly bigger size sometimes, especially if you are an hourglass, is to use slightly stretchier fabric.
Okay.
So this is like a jersey kind of stretch fabric.
Fantastic.
And it's a very, very good quality as well. It's kind of quite a thick fabric, so that'll work really nicely in contrast to this, which is like this is basically cotton, and it's 100% pure cotton. So what I was thinking was around the collars, we could use the daisy pattern.
Okay.
And then if I'm going to sketch it out, then we just kind of draw the daisies in there. And then that all sort of gets shaded in and coloured in, and then I send my client the sketch as well.
Beautiful.
So you can frame that up if you want to afterwards.
Yes, I will be doing
So that's what I was thinking was around the collars we'll have this fabric, around the cuffs we can have this fabric as well.
Okay, nice.
So that'll give it a very, very kind of beautiful 1960s flavour to your dress. And
it all sounds very exciting, and I'm excited to see it. But how long would something like this take? So from start to finish. So you leave here today with this design.
Yeah.
Continue the drawing. So how long until we sort of see it on Melissa's body?
It normally takes about 5 weeks for me to, depending, I try and get it done in 5 weeks, depending on how intricate the design is. This is actually quite a simple style dress, so it shouldn't take longer than 5 weeks, so you will have it by then.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Can I just ask you a quick question, just from, I guess, a business point of view and doing your own thing? What do you love the most about what you do?
I think, first of all, it's the fact that I can express that creativity.
Yeah.
And I think, secondly, when somebody appreciates something that you've designed for them, that there's no better feeling than that, to see them kind of walk away really happy, going, oh, I really love my outfit. That's a really, really great feeling.
Great reward, lovely. Well, Geeta, thank you so much. We've come to the end of this segment.
Okay.
Thank you so much, and we are looking forward to seeing Melissa's dress in 5 weeks.
And I promise I'll be wearing it on the show.
Oh, fantastic. That will be great. Well, after this break, we'll be back and we're talking more about the breakup. But you know what? Why don't you consider something that Geeta's made, or something for yourself? Maybe it could be a treat for yourself. It could be something that you can, a new look. Maybe you can reinvent yourself, because Melissa, I've never seen you in something like this before.
Well, you will soon, love. 5 weeks' time.
So it's actually good to maybe consider having someone else say, you know what, why don't you try this style? Because that could be a new chapter in your life, a new chapter in your fashion life. So think about it, and then when we come back after this break, we'll give you more breakup tips. Back soon.
So, maybe you're thinking about making some big changes or setting some ambitious goals for yourself. Maybe you want to lose 20 pounds or read through the Bible. Maybe you want to run a marathon or repair a broken relationship. Whatever your big goal is, the temptation is to expect to go straight from here to here, or from here to here. The reality is, there are a lot of small steps between big decisions and big results. Challenges and obstacles await. At some point, you might even want to quit. But stand firm. Don't be disappointed with slow progress. Don't be overwhelmed by the destination. Rather, focus on what you can do today. Skip dessert. Read a chapter. Go for a run. Make a phone call. The more difficult the journey, the more rewarding the destination. And it can all start today with just one small step.
Very good evening to you. We are live. This is your Finding Answers program.
I started running away from home at a very young age.
Guns, knives, affiliated with gangs.
Share. Open your heart. Talk to someone.
If you ask the question, can God help me? The answer will always be yes.
Welcome back to DKW, and today, if you've just joined us, hopefully you haven't just joined us because you've missed a fabulous show, and you've actually just missed Geeta, who's just made a fabulous dress for you, Melissa. Are you looking forward to that dress?
I cannot wait to wear my dress, I tell you.
Don't
be jealous now.
Jealous, unfortunately. But we'll see that in a couple of weeks' time. So, lady, we are talking about breakups, right? And, we've talked about good side of breakups, like Laura said, you know, you can move on and, you know, reinvent yourself. And we've definitely talked about the bad side, because let's be honest, a breakup, there is a lot of bad sides, downsides to it, right? It's really, really painful.
It's painful, and it's always going to be painful because obviously it's a breakup, and there was a reason why you were in that relationship. So it's always going to be hard. It's funny because when Laura was talking earlier, I could really relate to a lot of the things she said, a lot of the feelings, that feeling of life is like over. It's just so weird, especially when you've built up a lot of time with that person, you've invested a lot of time. I was previously in a relationship where I was 3 years with this person, and I seriously thought this was the person I was going to marry. And he was unfaithful to me, and to be honest, when our relationship broke up, it was just so weird being alone. It was so weird not having that relationship anymore.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like that before I got in the relationship. I was happy being single, but now that I had been in that for 3 years, I'd seen myself getting married to him. It was really difficult.
Yeah.
It was a really tough thing to overcome. And
it's small things as well, because like, for example, it's like reminding yourself not to text that person or not to check up on that person.
And you do wonder what they're doing. You can't help but wonder what they're doing and seeing, do they feel like bad, like how I'm feeling? Are they missing me? Are they missing me like I'm missing them? You don't want to know that they're okay. You don't want them to be okay.
You want them to be at home crying on their pillow, thinking, I've made the worst mistake of my life, right?
Yeah, definitely. It can be really, really tough to overcome, especially when it's been something like unfaithfulness, which it was to me, because then that just is that brings a whole other, you know, thing to it. All these thoughts, all these bad thoughts about yourself, doubts, worries, wondering why wasn't I good enough, etc. And I went through all of that, and it was really, really tough to overcome. And to be honest with you, it was only through prayer and through really seeking God that I could overcome that situation, because God helped me to see my value. I had lost my value because I started to question myself rather than to say that this person was just wrong or whatever. I'd lost my value, and God helped me to see my value again. And because of that, when I finally regained my value, I had a new lease for life. And it's funny because when I found my husband, or when my husband found me, I should say, it's funny because it's like what Laura said. I was in a moment where I just was not planning on.
You were happy single.
I was happy being single, and I was thinking in a few years' time I'll find somebody, and then we'll date, and then we'll get married. It wasn't even in my plans. And
one thing I love about your story is that you moved on, and today you can talk about it so candidly and just so like, yep, he cheated on me, and people are like, how could you talk about something like this, you know? But it's because you have moved on. That's a sign that you've moved on from this. And you know, time does heal. Time does help you to overcome it. And some people, they sort of bask in these thoughts like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And it's really good that, you know, you found faith and prayer, etc., that could help that sort of speed it along, if you like.
Definitely.
You know, it reminds me of your story actually, Verena, because sometimes when I hear your story, I do kind of think, wow, that was really the ultimate, sorry, I just don't care about you or myself anymore.
Well, yes, my one went off with a bang. Literally.
And
I can laugh about it today, but it wasn't something that was laughable at the time.
Yeah.
You know,
for the viewers that don't know, I know you've shared it before, but just tell us a little bit about your story and how he said, sorry, I just don't care anymore. What happened?
Well, the way he did it was his way, which was basically blowing himself up in our house, you know. And he killed himself and made me and our children homeless. That was his way of saying, I just don't care about you anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, you can hear a pin drop in the studio.
I can laugh about it now, but at the time it wasn't
funny.
It wasn't funny. Like Melissa said, through counseling, through the help of God, through prayers, I am over it today, and I can actually laugh about it today.
I want to ask you, Verena, because when you spoke about it, you could hear the silence. And I've heard your story a number of times, but every time you say it, I'm just kind of like,
you never get used
holding
to
my
it.
breath. I never get used to it.
Yeah.
It's something that I just think, Wow, how do you overcome that trauma? And you talk about it again, so flippantly almost, but did it take time? Was it a trauma and then you needed guidance, help? Because that is the ultimate breakup. That's breaking up not just from you, but from your children. That's saying, I don't care about you, I don't care about myself, I don't care about what happens to you.
I don't care about anyone.
Leaving you without a home, leaving you without safety, leaving you without... That is the ultimate... How did you move on from that?
Well, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. It was a trauma. I was traumatized by it. My children were traumatized by it. But like I said, it took time. You know, I went through different stages of grieving that loss, that breakup. You know, initially I was angry. Then the self-denial came in. Not recognizing that this has happened to me, and I went into a mode where I was thinking, well, this has not happened to me, this has happened to somebody else, not me.
Wow.
You know, and it took years for me to get over it. I got over it through lots and lots of counseling. And today, you know, I am the woman that I am today because of what I went through.
Yeah. Well, are you one of those women, Verena, that say, I will never marry again?
No, because I am married.
She's got a ring on it.
Wow, that's amazing.
There is always light at the end of the tunnel. It's never a good idea to stay in a bad relationship thinking, there is nobody else out there for me. There is always somebody else for you, somebody better.
You know, you guys talk about this, and that does take a real sense of value. Like Melissa said, because, you know, like, for example, it's like being in an abusive relationship. You know, you kind of get to that point where you think there's no one else for me, or who else is going to take me on, or who else is going to put up with me, or what about my children, what about this? And it is a sense of value, having that value for yourself and saying, you know what, I don't deserve this. Actually, I'm going to be the one to break this up because I don't deserve this. I deserve better. What do you think, Maria? Because you've been in that situation, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I went through really, really bad abuse. I went through physical abuse, mental abuse, verbal abuse. You know, it was all, everything together. And it is hard because it's not a case of, you know, like the person is breaking up with you, just saying to you, you know, how all the ideas that we've had, but it's the way they're saying it to you. You know, they're beating you up. Because with my ex-husband, I mean, for me, I could not understand why he was doing that to me. Why would he beat me so much? Why would he, you know, say horrible things to me the way he was? But it wasn't until after it broke up, I mean, the marriage broke up, and, you know, I literally had to run away in the middle of the night. And you know, and then afterwards, after, it was actually 4 years later, or even more, I found out that, you know, he has another child.
Wow, so he cheated on you, he had another child.
So
no idea.
all that abuse, everything that he was doing to me, for me, I believe it was because of that.
And did you stay in the relationship because you felt that you wouldn't find somebody else, that you wouldn't be able to find a man to love you again, or to treat you well, or deserve to have a different relationship?
Yeah, I think it wasn't my initial thought, but it was the verbal abuse that made me start to think that way. Because he was always saying to me, you know, you're ugly, you're never going to find anyone. Look at you, you know, everything. Something was always wrong with me as far as he was concerned. So yeah, I started to believe him, and by the time the marriage broke up, you know, I lost all self-respect myself. I didn't value myself. For me, I was like someone who, I was just breathing, but I didn't think, there was no value. Yeah, absolutely,
you know,
no
that's
value.
Interesting, because that's quite selfish actually, because, you know, although we were talking about breaking up by text, breaking up on a post-it, that's terrible. Actually, this is one of the most terrible ways, because when you think about it, that person is not allowing you to move on. They want to hold on to you. They don't want you. They don't care about you, but they don't want you to move on. And they don't want you to have that empowerment inside to think, oh, I am a good person. Oh, he's broken up with me, but look, you'll find somebody else. You know, even if it's a messy breakup, but what the person's doing is grinding you to the floor, but staying. So you're addicted to that person almost. You're sticking with that person. And you can never move on and find true happiness. It's so sad. It's so sad. Ladies, it's been wonderful hearing your stories. I wish we had a whole show to talk about just your stories. But we need to leave our viewers with some tips, and we've only got some limited time left. Have you got any final tips that you'd like to leave with people? Because you've all had breakups. What would you like to say to our viewers today?
Well, I would like to give a tip on actually breaking up when it comes to breaking up. I think that if you're in a position where you do, because you can't just stay forever just because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, and breakups do have to happen, they're inevitable. But if you, if you want to break up with someone, I think it's really important to be very honest, but at the same time to not be cruel. So you don't want to kind of just, oh, I just don't care anymore, and leave the person like, what did I do? What's wrong? What's happened? You know, you're leaving them with no answers, nothing, with no clarity. I think that's not fair, but at the same time, you don't want to just kind of point out every single thing that's ever been wrong with them. The time you did that 2 years ago, and the time you want to find a balance. But I think it's important not to beat around the bush, but to be open and to be honest.
Definitely. Verena, what tip would you leave?
Well, for me, I would say if there are women out there who's actually going through a breakup at the moment, or who has gone through it, you can't get over it. You can't get over it. Just take each day at a time, knowing that tomorrow will bring something better in your life. That's what I have to say.
Maria, what have you got to say?
Well, for me, I think it would be to always make sure that you're breaking up with a clear head, and not being unstable, because you might end up regretting your decisions. I don't know.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I think there's a lot to be considered. There's a lot to think about, and get your family, the views of your families, your friends. Make sure that you know exactly why you're doing it, and absolutely.
That it's emotional and not intelligent and not emotional. Intelligent and not emotional, right?
Absolutely.
Because that's a good point, actually. Because sometimes maybe the person's done one thing wrong, and you're like, do you know what? It's over. But actually, you might regret it and never get that person back, right? Right. Yes. I've got two pieces of advice that I wanted to say to people. I think that if you're in a relationship that is just not working, I think you should have the courage to move on, but to do it in a good way. Because character is everything, and that's what we teach here on DKW. We try to teach for our own experiences, and character is very important. And one day you might even need that person, who knows? So I wouldn't break up with someone and think, you know what, I'm just going to hurt your feelings, I'll say whatever I want to say and be mean about it, because I'm never going to need you again. I think you should always consider the person that you are breaking up with and look after that person. You had a relationship with them, so break up in a good way and leave your character intact. But I'd like to really talk to people who have been broken up with, who've been left with a broken heart, because I can really relate to you, because I've been brokenhearted at one point, and unfortunately I was cheated on, like I said, and I've been through abuse, similar to what Maria went through. And I would like to say to you that, you can be a different kind of woman, and I'd like to challenge you to be a different kind of woman. I wasted 3 years of my life dwelling on my breakup, thinking my life will never move forward, I can't study, I want to leave my studies, I want to leave university, I can't move on, I'll never find someone else. I actually vowed never to get married again. And I decided for myself that my life was over, and I was so young. But one day I just decided I'm going to be different. I'm going to reach for my goals. I'm going to start a new chapter of my life. This is not going to define who I am. And today I'm a better person for it. And that's what the challenge that I leave you with today. So be a different kind of woman. If you're going through a breakup, you can move on, and you will. We'll be back next week with another fabulous show. But until then, be different.